When this girl claimed that she had the smartest dolphin, nobody believed her. So, to prove it, she gave her dolphin a command. The dolphin immediately lifted its large tail and splashed water on the crowd. Then she called the dolphin onto the stage. The audience started wondering what was about to happen. But when the girl stepped onto the stage, everyone was amazed because the two of them performed an adorable dance together. Whenever this owner has to give his dog a bath, the clever pup hides among his toy dogs, making it almost impossible to find him. But today, finding him was important because he had to go to the vet for his vaccination. First, the owner snaps his fingers, and suddenly two dogs in the left corner seem to move. But only one of them is the real dog. Next, the owner plays the sound of the dog's favorite treat, but the sneaky pup still doesn't react. Finally, the owner makes one last attempt and presses a button on a remote. Whenever the dog hears the sound, he thinks it's mealtime. And just like that, the adorable little trickster gives himself away every single time. This owner was trying to teach his little kitten where to use the bathroom because the kitten was only 2 months old and still didn't know the proper way. Whenever he got the chance, he would do his business right on the floor. The owner was showing him how to dig a hole in the litter box and how to cover it up after he was done. But while being taught, the playful little kitten was more interested in playing with the owner's finger. The owner got a bit frustrated and brought in the kitten's mother. The mother cat started showing him the correct way to use the litter box. However, instead of paying attention, the little kitten simply got comfortable and fell asleep right inside the litter box. This man put a magnetic collar on his cat to see what kinds of things it could find. But before the experiment even started, the cat got stuck to the metal door frame. After freeing it, he took the cat for a walk. As soon as they went downstairs, the cat got attached to a scooter. A little farther down the road, it ended up stuck to a car. The owner had to keep pulling the cat free again and again. So they decided to head into the woods instead. There, the cat started finding all kinds of metal objects. By now, the cat was getting tired, but when they finally returned home, it got stuck to another cat's metal collar. And just like that, the cat ended up finding itself a girlfriend too. This man used up years of luck all at once when he captured this incredible moment on camera. A fish leaped out of the water and tried to hunt a snake hanging from a tree branch. The question was, how long could the snake hold on to the branch, or how long could the fish stay out of the water without running out of breath? Luckily, before the snake could bite, the fish was rescued by one of its friends. As soon as this girl laid out the bed, her 2 dogs quickly took their spots. Then a third dog came along and curled up right between them. The next day, she brought out a bigger mattress so all 3 dogs could sleep comfortably, but the third dog still insisted on sleeping in the middle. Frustrated, she even bought 2 separate beds, hoping that would solve the problem, but the third dog refused to sleep apart from the others. That's when she realized that these dogs simply couldn't stay away from each other because they had spent their entire lives sleeping together. If you also think their friendship is truly heartwarming, don't forget to like this video. This girl was feeding an otter, but she accidentally tossed the food so high that the little otter couldn't reach it. The tiny otter kept jumping again and again, doing everything it could to catch the treat. The girl couldn't stop laughing at the adorable sight, but the stubborn little otter wasn't ready to give up. It dove underwater and launched itself even higher, but it still missed the food. Finally, it swam back to the girl, looking a little embarrassed. Then it performed a few cute little tricks, asking for more snacks, and in the end, the girl happily rewarded it with an extra treat. This man secretly placed a duck egg behind his cat, making it look like she had laid it herself. The cat was completely confused when she noticed the egg. So, the man used a toy to convince her that the egg had come from underneath her. From that moment on, the cat stayed close to the egg, trying to keep it warm like a real mother. But when the egg finally hatched and a tiny duckling came out, the cat was shocked and refused to accept it because it didn't look anything like a kitten. Then the man came up with a clever trick. He rubbed the duckling against the cat's fur, so it would carry her familiar scent. The plan worked, and the cat finally accepted the little duckling as her own baby. This zookeeper threw a rope into the lion's enclosure to see who was stronger, the lion or humans. As soon as the rope landed inside, the lion immediately grabbed it and started pulling. On the other end, 2 men were using all their strength to pull the rope back, but it quickly became clear that the lone lion was far stronger than both men combined. This tiny fish started swimming into the man's mouth because it's often called the dentist of the ocean. It happily swims into the mouths of other sea creatures and begins cleaning them from the inside. It may sound strange, but even sharks rely on this little fish to keep their teeth clean. This dog wasn't just a pet to its owner, it was one of the most cherished members of the family. For many years, it stayed faithfully by its owner's side. But after battling a serious illness, it sadly passed away. Losing such a loyal companion was incredibly difficult, and the owner couldn't bring themselves to let go. So, they turned to a preservation specialist, who carefully restored the dog's body while preserving its unique appearance as closely as possible. When the work was finally complete, it looked as if the dog was still there with its owner, simply sleeping peacefully. This dog had to pretend to be sick every day because his little owner wanted to become a doctor one day. She would make him her patient every day and try new ways to treat him. Her dad also supported her dream by making all kinds of machines out of cardboard for her. The dog happily became a part of the game, letting the little doctor treat him and sometimes even helping her by becoming a nurse himself. For now, it was all just a game, but this dog was a part of her sweet dream of becoming a doctor, a dream that would one day come true. In countries like Russia, where temperatures can drop as low as -30°C, people even put a jacket on their walls. This is called spray foam insulation. It is a special type of foam that hardens when it comes into contact with air. It is applied to the walls, roofs, and floors of houses to prevent cold air from entering and heat from escaping. This foam is made by combining two chemicals, isocyanate and polyol resin. As soon as they mix, they create a foam that expands within seconds and completely seals every crack and gap in the walls. Because of this, it is far more effective than ordinary insulation and is widely used in cold countries such as Russia, Canada, and Norway. This dad was helping his two daughters jump into the swimming pool. But he had no idea that his youngest daughter was also waiting for her turn. In the end, the dad helped his little daughter into the swimming pool too, which made her very happy. People don't call it nature's bone-eating cleanup worker for nothing. This is no ordinary eagle, but a large bird of prey that doesn't just eat meat. It can even consume bones. In fact, it is known as the bearded vulture or lammergeier. Right now, it is being given a very large bone. But the question is, how can it swallow a piece almost as large as itself in a single gulp? The answer is that this bird has an extremely flexible throat and esophagus. That's why the entire bone can reach its stomach within just a few seconds. But the real magic happens inside its stomach. Its stomach acid is so powerful that it begins dissolving bones within a few hours. According to scientists, the pH of its stomach acid can be around 1, making it extremely acidic. This is why the bearded vulture can easily digest things that most animals in the world cannot. This man made a big mistake because he had to paint an entire stadium, and he had almost finished the job. Only one spot in the middle was left. A new worker thought that if he painted that area, he wouldn't be able to get out afterward. But this man was a professional, and he showed him how it was done. When only the last section remained, he slowly moved backward while painting the ground at the same time. But sadly, no one even gave this man a like. This girl was teaching her cat how to walk on a 3D carpet. First, she walked on it herself to show that there was nothing to be afraid of, and when it was the cat's turn, it crossed it easily as well. Then, the girl brought out another carpet that looked much scarier. This time, even she was a little nervous. When it was the cat's turn, it got scared and refused to move. A little later, the girl gathered her courage and started moving forward, but the cat stopped her because it was worried about its little owner. This boy's behavior is so strange that people call him the coal man. That's because he doesn't take baths. Instead, he covers himself with coal every single day. Whenever his body accidentally starts looking a little clean, he immediately pours another sack of coal over himself. And when it's time to sleep, he feels most comfortable resting inside a bag filled with coal. But the real surprise comes when his girlfriend visits him. On those days, he gives her a rose and even enjoys a full meal before spending time with her. This parrot wasn't just a pet. It was a member of its owner's family and had spent more than 10 years with them. But as it grew older, it eventually passed away. Its owner didn't want to lose it forever, so they took it to a preservation expert. The expert carefully cleaned and treated its body, then restored its original shape. Even its eyes were fitted with great care, and in the end, it looked almost exactly the same as it did when it was alive and living with its owner. Would you do something like this for your favorite pet? This man completely transformed his house. His name is Sam Cox, an artist who turned his entire home into a giant doodle masterpiece. He used over 400 cans of black paint, more than 2,000 markers, and spent 2 full years bringing his vision to life. Nothing was spared. Not the walls, not the stairs, and not even the electronics. What's even crazier, this had been his dream since he was just 18 years old. His parents thought the idea was terrible, but Sam never gave up. He kept drawing, kept creating, and eventually turned his dream into reality. Today, he's known as one of the world's best doodle artists. So, what's your biggest dream? As soon as the coin was pressed, it seemed to pass right through the plastic. But the plastic wasn't torn at all. So how did the coin go through? Well, the secret behind this trick lies in the plastic film. It's made of a highly elastic material. When the film is stretched tightly and a coin is inserted from underneath, it looks like the coin is sitting on top, but in reality, it's actually underneath the plastic. That's why, with just a slight push, the coin instantly drops through. No pillars, no supports, so why doesn't this roof collapse? At first glance, it looks like it's defying gravity itself, but in reality, it's built using an incredible technique called the Catalan vault. This centuries-old construction method is still used in many countries today. It works by joining thin, lightweight bricks with a fast-setting mortar. As soon as the first brick is placed, it begins supporting the next one. The bricks are then arranged in a curved pattern, and the entire roof gradually locks itself into a strong structure. The amazing part is that a flat roof transfers its weight straight downward, while this curved design spreads the load toward the sides. That's why this roof can remain standing for years without pillars or heavy supports. It's a brilliant piece of engineering that continues to amaze people even today. Whenever you go to a water park, never make this mistake. When this boy visited a water park for the first time, he stood on the tallest slide without knowing anything about it. He had no idea what was about to happen next. As soon as the trapdoor opened, he started speeding down the slide. That's why he got extremely scared, because he kept spinning and moving around inside for quite a while. Then he saw a light and thought he was finally about to come out. But he continued twisting and sliding around for a long time before reaching the end. For an entire year, this man had been training his students in the gym, but surprisingly, not a single one of them could withstand even one of his punches. The problem was that whenever he threw a punch, the person in front of him would instantly step back, and some people were so scared that they could barely stand properly. This made him worry that people like this would never be able to win a match. However, everything changed when he faced the last guy. No matter how many punches he threw, they had absolutely no effect on him. The man didn't move even a single inch from where he was standing. This kitten was born last, so whenever its older siblings sat at their own laptops, it was left with only a tiny laptop. Even when everyone lined up for snacks, it always ended up at the very back, and by the time its turn came, all the snacks were already gone. Feeling sad and left out, the kitten became upset. Seeing this, its owner gave it some delicious creamy milk. As soon as it got the milk, it became happy and energetic again. Later, when it was time to use the litter box, the kitten got to go first because the older cats had learned an important lesson. The little one should always be given a chance first. There is a type of crab whose claws are completely legal to eat, but eating its whole body is illegal. This crab is called the Florida stone crab. After catching it, fishermen remove its large claws and then release the crab back into the ocean. Surprisingly, this practice is done to help protect the ecosystem. According to the rules, only claws larger than 2.9 inches can be harvested. That's why fishermen carefully measure every crab. If the claw is too small, the crab is immediately released. The most interesting part is that these crabs can regrow their claws. Within about a year, new claws grow back, allowing them to be harvested again. This means the same crab can provide claws multiple times without being killed. What do you think? Does this seem like a good way to harvest seafood? This man is truly the world's best dad. When he realized his little daughter was struggling to go up and down the stairs, he didn't waste a single moment. He spent his entire day off building something special just for her. He took 4 large pieces of cardboard and attached them to the stairs, turning them into an amazing slide. He even added 1 more piece of cardboard at the bottom, so she could safely slide all the way into her room. When his daughter tried it for the first time, she happily reached her room without any trouble. But she's still not happy, because only 2 people have liked what her dad did. Just look at this sheep. When its wool grows so much that it even covers its eyes, it's a clear sign that it's time for shearing. Sheep's wool keeps growing continuously, and if it isn't trimmed on time, it becomes extremely heavy. This can make it difficult for the sheep to walk and can also cause heat stress during the summer. In some cases, dirt and moisture get trapped in the thick wool, increasing the risk of skin infections. That's why most farmers and professional shearers today use electric clippers to shear sheep. These machines are very fast and can remove the entire fleece in just a few minutes, making the process quicker and safer. However, in many places, some shearers still prefer the traditional method of using large hand shears. Although it's slower, it gives the shearer better control over the direction of the wool and helps avoid cutting the sheep's skin. Once the shearing is complete, the sheep feels much lighter and its body stays cooler and more comfortable. This guy painted a 3D speed bump right on the road, and people couldn't stop saying, "Wow!" It looked so realistic that drivers actually thought it was a real speed bump. As cars approached, they immediately slowed down. Even a bus driver was left confused, wondering when a speed bump had appeared overnight. Some drivers even slammed on the brakes so hard it felt like their tires were about to come off. This guy performs an incredible stunt because he walks where there isn't even a path. He jumps from this rock, runs along the wall, and somehow balances himself on a tiny ledge. But here's the most dangerous part. If he fails to land on that small spot, he'll fall into the fast-moving water below, where surviving would be extremely difficult. Even if you could squeeze a ferret like a piece of cloth, it still wouldn't tell you these facts. First, some ferrets bring their newborn babies to the person they trust the most. It's considered one of the sweetest signs of trust and affection they can show. Second, ferrets have incredibly soft fur. Many people even say they're softer than cats. Their bodies are also extremely flexible, allowing them to squeeze into tiny spaces where other animals might get stuck. Third, ferrets love hiding things. If they find a small, interesting object, they'll often pick it up and stash it in one of their favorite hiding spots. Fourth, ferrets have an incredible amount of energy. When they're excited, they suddenly start jumping and bouncing around. Sometimes they get so happy that it looks like they have springs inside their bodies. And the funniest part? Ferrets sleep so deeply that they can sometimes look completely unconscious. But in reality, they're just enjoying a very deep, peaceful sleep. A shop in China came up with a genius way to attract customers during the summer. They freeze fruit drinks, toys, and all kinds of prizes inside giant blocks of ice. Then, for a small fee, visitors get about 20 minutes to break the ice using hammers and other tools. Whatever they manage to find inside the ice, they get to take home. Both kids and adults absolutely love this challenge. And since everything is frozen inside the ice, it helps people stay cool while playing, making it a perfect activity for hot summer days. So, would you give this ice challenge a try? While these two sisters were peacefully sleeping, their mom quietly walked over and secretly poked a tiny hole in their inflatable tube, so the air would slowly start leaking out. Then, when the timing was right, she gently pushed them toward the pool. Suddenly, she remembered that her daughter's laptop was still on the tube. Panicking, she carefully reached over and grabbed the laptop before it got wet. After that, she made one or two more small cuts in the tube, causing the air to escape much faster. But as soon as the sisters woke up, they instantly realized something was wrong. Unfortunately, by then, it was already too late. In China, people fill unripe oranges with sticky rice, but not to eat them, to make a special drink. First, they cut a small hole in the orange and remove all the pulp, leaving only the peel. Then they stuff the peel with sticky rice so it keeps its shape while drying in the sun. Once the peel is completely dried, the rice is removed. Finally, the dried orange peel is used to brew traditional tea, which is loved by many people in China. First, this guy makes a cake, and whenever someone comes to buy one, he flips the cake upside down before handing it over. Then, both of them have to work together to put the cake back in its original shape. Sometimes the cake breaks during the process, but if they manage to save it, they win a prize. He creates cakes in the shape of different animals, such as turtles, giraffes, rabbits, and many more. When the cake is flipped, sometimes the head breaks off, and other times a different part gets damaged. This dog is seriously the ultimate prankster. He put on a terrifying mask and went around scaring all of his dog buddies. First, he quietly sat next to this playful husky. Meanwhile, the pit bull sitting behind them was watching everything. The moment the husky opened his eyes, he got so scared that he ran off in panic. But the prank was far from over. Next, the dog targeted the calm pit bull, and he didn't even spare the family cat. His scary mask had the whole house on edge, creating an atmosphere of pure fear as he went around startling every pet one by one. Some racing tracks are made so incredibly sticky that if you accidentally step on them, your shoe might come off while your foot keeps moving. These special surfaces are used in drag racing, where cars producing anywhere from 1,000 to over 10,000 horsepower can reach speeds of nearly 490 kilometers per hour. To handle that kind of power, the most important thing is grip. That's why the track is coated with a special rubber layer and traction chemicals like VHT and other traction compounds, making the surface extremely sticky. When these high-powered cars or bikes launch, their tires need to bite into the track and push the vehicle forward. If the surface is slippery, the tires will just spin in place instead of accelerating. That's also why drivers perform a burnout before the race, to heat up the tires and create an even stronger bond between the rubber and the track. When the race started, the girl in the pink shirt sprinted so fast that all the teachers at the school thought she was the fastest and would definitely win. She easily cleared the small wall without any trouble and kept moving ahead. In this race, running fast made it easier to get over the small wall. But when the big wall came, the faster runners kept stumbling and falling because of their high speed. Meanwhile, the girl in the green shirt kept moving forward steadily, picked up speed at the right moment, surprised everyone, and won the race. This man wanted to see what would happen if he gave this hippo a tiny grape. He thought the grape was so small that the hippo wouldn't even notice it. But as soon as he dropped the grape into its mouth, the huge hippo swallowed it instantly and then opened its mouth, waiting for more food. The next day, the man came back with a slightly bigger fruit, hoping the hippo would enjoy it more. But even after placing the fruit in its mouth, the hippo didn't seem impressed and looked a little disappointed. So the following day, the man prepared a much bigger treat. However, because of the previous experience, the hippo still looked a bit sad. Then the owner called its name and showed it a giant watermelon. The moment the hippo saw the watermelon, it became excited and, without thinking twice, swallowed the whole thing in a single gulp. This girl showed the otter a bowl full of ice. As soon as the otter saw it, he ran straight to the window. He pressed his tiny nose against the glass and stretched his little paws as far as he could. But his paws were too small to reach the bowl. So the girl picked up a piece of ice instead. This time, the otter grabbed it and happily started munching on it. This girl walked into a coffee shop to buy a coffee, but the cashier refused to accept her money because the bill was torn. A little while later, she came back after carefully taping the bill together, but the cashier still wouldn't take it. Frustrated, she said, "I already fixed it." A man standing nearby felt bad for her and kindly paid for her coffee. But then, when the cashier tried to hand her a torn bill as change, she immediately said, "I don't want a torn bill." The cashier instantly realized the irony, quietly took the coffee back, and returned her money.